Right, so the iPhone 16e, yes, the iPhone 16e is finally official. Basically, the rumors are spot on about this device, and so this might be one of the best value iPhones in recent years. Let's delve into the specs. So beginning with the design, this obviously looks very different from the outgoing iPhone SE3 because, as we expected, this is based on the iPhone 14 design language, and so that gives us a number of big changes. The first thing is a 6.1-inch OLED display. Yes, I know this is not new to the iPhone, but this being available at a low price is fantastic news, and of course it is a massive upgrade over the iPhone SE3's 4.7-inch LCD that we got back with the iPhone 6 in 2014. Now the display specs are basically identical to the iPhone 14, so it's 60Hz, the brightness isn't the highest, but honestly this will do the job for most people, and I'm just glad we have a display upgrade at last. Now another thing that gets an upgrade is biometrics, because with the SE3 we had Touch ID and the home button design, which was archaic compared to every other iPhone that's existed for the last few years. And so finally we have a notch design here with of course Face ID. Now the notch isn't that modern because we do have dynamic island iPhones now and have had them for quite a few years, but regardless I'll take the notch. This is an upgrade over the home button design, and Face ID is generally what people prefer over Touch ID. And by the way, would like to remind you guys, like this video and subscribe for more content like this, it would be appreciated. Now on the sides of the device we can see there's a mute switch, volume buttons, a power button, but on the bottom of the device we can see Type-C, so yes, we're getting that on a cheaper iPhone. That's fantastic news, though it is USB 2 speeds, just like the regular iPhones. Now on the back of the device we can see there's only one camera, just like the outgoing SE3, but don't be fooled by that, there is actually a massive camera upgrade because the main sensor is now 48 megapixels, just like the iPhone 16, and so that gives us a 2x telephoto crop, which makes up for the lack of a second lens, and do remember the ultra wide is pretty niche anyway, so yeah, for the price guys, I'm pretty chuffed with the camera on this. Now powering this is the A18 chipset with 8GB of RAM, just like the iPhone 16, and so that means we get full Apple Intelligence support for those who care about AI for some reason. But honestly, the biggest advantage with this getting the A18 is going to be software support, because this having the latest and greatest means it will get updates for years and years. We can maybe see 5 to 7 years of updates, which again at this price is a big advantage. Another special thing about this phone is the modem. So Apple's actually developed their own custom modem for this new iPhone. Now it might be worse than Qualcomm's modems based on the rumors, we don't know that for sure yet, but at the very least guys, this could lead to more efficient modems, which could lead to better battery life on iPhone when using 5G. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this tech progresses, but hopefully there's not too many issues with this first gen modem in this phone. And let's talk about battery life, because these are the video playback numbers Apple claims, and those are pretty impressive numbers, especially when compared to the outgoing iPhone SE3, finally getting pretty good battery life on the entry-level iPhone, so that's great news. Now pricing release date I'll put up on the screen right now, and honestly for the amount of value this phone offers, the asking price is not too bad guys. Also yes, it only comes in 2 colors, that is kind of surprising because recent iPhone models have had more color options, but hey, I'm not complaining, especially for the specs and upgrades we've got with this iPhone. Now yes, I know some might mention that for this price, you can find the iPhone 15, or if you're not too fussed about Type-C, you can find the iPhone 13 or 14 for less, which yes, do have inferior specs, but do the job for the most part. And I'm aware of that, but do remember this does have advantages, like of course the new chipset which gives this much longer support than those older iPhones, and also Apple Intelligence support, which yes, does not make a massive difference right now, but eventually will play a big part in the iOS experience. But also remember there are going to be those who don't want to buy used or refurbished, they want to go to an Apple store and just buy the cheapest iPhone Apple sells. Now that the SE is official, let's talk about other products we should see very soon. And Mark Gurman has said we can expect a new MacBook Air by March. Now these Macs have been spotted in macOS codes, and so let's talk about some previous rumors regarding this MacBook, and by the way, my hair, my beard, and my shirt may mysteriously change. Anyway, while the M4 MacBook Air will be a chipset refresh for the most part, I do expect some other changes, as we saw with the MacBook Pros. So for example, we can expect a center stage camera, which would be a nice change considering the camera will now be able to follow you around as you move, and also you get access to desk view if you're presenting something. The nano texture coating, I'm not sure if the Air's going to get, but considering the base iMac has this option, maybe the base MacBook Air is going to follow suit. I also expect new colors. We've had 2 generations of MacBook Air with the same set of colors, and obviously Apple gave the MacBook Pro and iMac a new set of colors halfway through their design cycle, and so now with this Air reusing this shelf for the 3rd time, we can finally expect some new shades, hopefully something more vibrant, because the Air should be a fun looking MacBook. I've had enough of boring, serious looking Macs. It's time for some color. But of course, the big news will be 16 gigs of RAM as standard, which obviously is already the case with the M3 and M2 models, but regardless, this is a game-changing feature for these new models, and I'm assuming once the M4 model launches at $1099, we should see the M3 drop to $999, which will be a great deal as well. Now that's pretty much everything about the MacBook Airs, but let's delve into the other Macs we should see somewhat soon. So the next model to get refreshed according to Gurman is the Mac Studio. This was initially on track to launch with the MacBook Air, but has now been pushed to June. However, I don't want to call out Gurman here because months before he told us the Mac Studio would launch mid-2025, and so why exactly is there now a delay? Anyway, it makes sense to launch this mid-2025, specifically at WWDC, because that's where the last model launched. And if you think about it, lots of creative professionals and developers, aka Apple nerds, are going to be buying this, and so they're the ones watching WWDC in the first place, and so pitching this machine to the target audience is the best idea. Now this is a desktop, but Apple's going to be reusing this shelf for the 3rd time, so it would be nice to see new colors, maybe a space black option, but considering the Mac Mini did not get any new color options, I do doubt that. But hey, the SD card reader moving to the front like the Mac Mini would be a nice change. Moving to the Mac Pro, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we have leaks out once again Apple's having issues with producing an Extreme chipset for the higher end Macs. So way back when, we had leaks about an M2 Extreme chipset coming to a future Mac Pro, which would essentially be 2 M2 Ultras stuck together to give this machine insane performance. However, it seems Apple ran out of glue because they could not stick these chips together, and so as a result we had a pretty underwhelming Apple Silicon refresh to the Mac Pro, where it had the same chassis as before with the exact same performance as the much smaller Mac Studio, whilst costing more and really only offering expandable storage as the only upgrade. But when I say expandable, you had to pay for Apple's expensive storage modules, so it was kinda pointless. So all in all, this was a piss poor update, guys, and many of us were hoping with the M4 generation of Macs, maybe we could finally get an M4 Extreme chipset based on the M4 Max that could theoretically offer 64 CPU cores and 160 GPU cores. That is a lot of cores and would give us mind-blowing levels of performance for those who actually are going to be pushing their Macs to the absolute extreme. But unfortunately, it seems once again, Apple's decided to ditch these plans. According to the information, Apple wants to free up engineering resources for their AI server chipset instead, since Apple Intelligence has now become the next big thing, and so for the time being, plans to make an Extreme chipset have been cancelled. Now, John Gruber, who's another journalist, had made a good point that Apple starts developing these chipsets way before they actually release, and so whatever's been dropped right now, maybe the M5 or the M6 Extreme, and development for the M4 Extreme might have already been wrapped up, so it's ready for release later this year. That could be the case, and I would like to see that because right now the Mac Pro is in a bit of an awkward spot, since currently it does not offer enough differences to justify the much higher price compared to a Mac Studio. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and thank you for watching.